I will be addressing prompt 2 from lesson 2 readings. This prompt says, one of the major issues involved in meeting the unique language and academic needs of immersion bilingual students is whether or not they should be taught in separate classrooms or programs, and this is usually called the pull-out method. And the consideration raises a sensitive issue of segregation. When might separate classrooms or programs be needed, and what are some possible solutions to the segregation problem that still address the needs of our immersion bilingual students? And I'm sorry, my camera keeps slipping. There are lots of things that I got from these readings. It was really helpful. I felt like it took me through a lot of things that I learned in college that I needed to reread. And that was really helpful because I don't feel like I've had that refresher in a long time. When it comes to the specific pull-out method, I feel like there was a lot of information on that, and there was a lot of information on other models that I feel like are way more effective, and that should be more openly used in schools. I personally don't have a lot of experience with the pull-out method because I don't feel like it's used as often. When I was doing my student teaching, I did teach in an ESL classroom where that's exactly what it was, is they were pulled out of their normal classrooms and they were put in that one during like history class, during math class. And honestly, I felt like it was kind of strange, and I feel like the students did too. They didn't really want to be left out of their mainstream classrooms, and they didn't really want to leave their other friends. And so that's probably one of my only experiences with it, and it's not a very positive one. And I'm sure that there are people out there that have more positive experiences than I do, but I just see that there are other models that work better. One thing that I wanted to read from our book, which is titled Foundations for Teaching English and Language Learners, and this is from chapter 5. It says that the pull-out method has been highly criticized as the least effective model. The problems are many. First, and perhaps the most important, is that students miss out on instruction in their regular classroom when they are pulled out. And that's what I saw personally. It goes on to say, second, pull-out ESL may lead to some general education, elementary and secondary teachers to view that ELLs are mainly the responsibility of the ESL teacher. I can see that. And third, the students may feel stigmatized about being pulled out from day to day in front of their peers. And that's another thing that the students I would overhear them where they would say is that like they didn't understand why they had to leave the classroom with their best friend in it. And it was they didn't say this out loud, but I can only imagine like that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing to get pulled out in front of everybody day after day. And these were high school students and they were still getting pulled out. It also says in this chapter that, I'm just paraphrasing here, but that for a student who is just thrown into like a sink or swim situation, that the pull-out method is better than nothing. It's better than nothing to get some instruction. So I can see that in a situation where a student, there's nothing set up for them and they're just thrown into an English classroom, they have no idea what's going on, to be pulled out and to be explained and to be helped separately is better than nothing. So that's my like counter argument for that. But when it comes to what we can do to best help our students, I feel like there's so many models that are out there, and the book has a really good graph of like the weak forms of bilingual education and the strong forms. And one of the monolingual forms of education, which I'm not a huge supporter of because I don't feel like that's the goal. We don't want our students to just speak English at the end of everything. But I understood some of the characteristics of the sheltered and structured English immersion model. Ooh, that one is a tongue twister. I like that it teaches the content area to the students, to our immersion bilingual students at grade level, and it's still difficult, but that it's taught in a way and it's provided in a way that's comprehensible to our immersion bilingual students while still promoting their English language development. And I think that's something that we can really apply to our classroom, is to have them in the classroom, to have them with their peers, but to make the curriculum and the content something that they can understand. And like, we don't have to pull them out of the whole classroom, but you as their teacher can take them aside when they're doing a big group project or they're silently doing work. You can have them come to your desk. You can help them with anything that they need, that so that you're still their teacher. You're not just giving them to the ESL teacher and not worrying about their needs. And then some of the strong forms of bilingual education were developmental bilingual education. And of course, the end goal for that is bilingualism and biliteracy, dual language and bilingual immersion. All of those, the goal for our students is that they're bilingual and they're biliterate at the end of that. And that is really what I support in the end, is that we're bringing these students cultures and heritage language and into the classroom, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That we're not just making it so that they only speak English at the end of the day. And we can do that in so many different ways. And I think that's what we really need to be focusing on as teachers.